we will discuss further into functions. There are different kind of utility functions which are powerful and can be used to execute those tasks faster and reduce the lines of code. So as you might know that sometimes some functions can be uh, larger or longer than usual. So if there are smaller functions and simpler code, we can use so there are certain utilities we can use to quickly uh, address those issues and start structuring functions. So one of those examples is Lambda. So we'll start with Lambda now. This Lambda functions are actually a type where it helps to you can define certain functions which are easy to make, and it starts with the keyword lambda. So here what we do basically is whatever you define after the keyword lambda will be the definition of the function. So there is no def uh, syntax we used last time, as you might remember, to define a function. So for lambda type functions, we just write uh, lambda, that is lambda, and then we try to define what that function will do. So we'll try to understand this simple function first. This one is actually, so what is happening is just defining the function. So lambda x, and then you put a colon, and then whatever comes after the colon is the operation you want to perform inside the function. So x is the variable you will be using, and after the colon, whatever operation is there is the operation the function will perform. So x, you might remember this operator. Just a quick revision. Can you please tell me what this operator is? We have discussed this in our operators class. Please ping them in the put them in the chat box so that everybody can see. Do you remember this one? What will this operator do? Can somebody quickly put in the chat box? Yeah, so we have started getting answers. Okay, can I can't see? Did anybody put any answer? What will this operator do?
It's an easy one, isn't it? Star star operator.
Yeah, yes, we have discussed this in our operators class.
If
Anybody able
you
to
don't know
recollect?
it, Google and answer. That's the first support function for a developer. Just quickly Google and put your answer in the chat window.
Yes, you can do it too.
So Vishnu has
Yes, yes, correct, Vishnu. You are correct. So it's x to the power 2. So this uh, definition is what we have defined. So as of now, we have just defined the function, right? So what in the next set of code we'll do is we will try to assign a function name to it. So what uh, I've given a name here is lambda underscore square. So this don't get confused by the equal to. It is whatever is on the left side of the equal to. That's how lambda works. It's the function name, okay? And then you give the same definition as lambda x and x uh, to the power 2. So if we run this, now lambda square is the name of the function you can call. Okay, so now this function name can be used to uh, to perform that square operation. Okay, so what we simply do now is we use this name lambda square, and we pass the value 8 through the parameters. Okay, so what happens is this will give you 8 to power 2. Whatever you pass it here will be assigned to this value x. You give it to this value x, so 8 to power 2, you will get the output as 64. you can in turn also store this output in some other variable and print that you can do. Okay, so that is how Lambda functions are called and defined. So first you have to define them and give them a name. Okay, the above part was just for explanation. You can do this in one line as well. You can just simply put the function name whatever you want on the left side, and then equal to, and you say lambda, and then you say x, which will be the variable you will be using, and then after the colon you say the operation, so x to the power 2. Okay, so then you use this lambda square name of the function with the parameters, whatever value you give it here, it will uh, it will give you the output for that x value. Okay, so if I give 7 here, you will get 49. So this is basic lambda function. You can try to execute this parallelly and try to do play with it basically to see different kind of operations. You can try different operators here. Okay, so you can also assign multiple inputs. So how do you do that? How, if you can assign like two or maybe more than one variables using the lambda function. So this is one such example. So what I'm doing it here is I'm creating a lambda function called full name underscore lambda. So, and after the equal to, I'm defining this function. So as you might see, there are two variables in play. So you give them separated by a comma, okay, and after the colon, you, as the last time, same here, you can assign, you can perform the operation. So any idea what this is doing? You are using two variables here, and these are the operations. First name and last name are the two variables. So this is the operation you are performing. So any idea what this is doing? Can somebody answer in the chat box? This is again very simple one. In the operators we have seen this. There is a plus operator, and then there is a space given, right? So can anybody answer what this is doing? What this will do if I provide two variables, first name and last name? Anyone? You can Google this because we have seen this in operators. The plus symbol, as you might remember, was used for two purposes. Yes, correct, Jiju. It is joining the two elements. It is basically concatenating first name and last name. Okay, so we put this function into use now. How we do that is similar to last time. We use the function name, full name lambda, and then we provide the parameters. This time there are two parameters which it needs. So remember the positions when you assign, when you call the function. So the first this positional parameter Sachin will be assigned to first name, just on the left side of the comma. So, and respectively Tendulkar will be assigned to the last name. Okay, so when you pass this, this should run and it should give you the concatenated string that is Sachin Tendulkar. And this space again is used to separate those strings. If you don't give this, this, okay, let me just run the definition first. Right. So if you don't give this space, these two strings will be attached to each other. Right. So you have that option to just remove this and maybe use only plus. But what will happen now is if you run this, see, there is no space between Sachin and Tendulkar, right? So to put space, you use these parentheses. Okay. So, are there any questions still now? Are we good? Are you guys following? Can we get a quick yes?
Kaushal,
Let-
I want to add something over here. Can
Yeah,
you
yeah,
go
yeah.
first?
Please, Aditi.
Yeah, yeah. Can you go to the first code?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
So guys, you can see over here in the last session, we had seen how can we define a function using the def keyword for the same operation. In there also we were trying to write a function which will give us the square of a number that we are providing. And here also the same task is getting executed, but you can see if you remember that that line of code, that piece of code was actually multi-line. Like you had to write various lines of code in order to create that function. But here you can see that you can create a function using lambda in just one line of code. So this is the advantage that we have for using the lambda functions. Okay. And also I should tell you this, that when the execution time for lambda function is lesser than the usual way of writing the user defined functions. Okay. That is by using the def keyword, the way which we had seen last time. The execution time, that is Python will take more time to execute that def keyword type of the function than compared to the lambda functions. Okay, so I just felt that I should add this. Carry on, Kaushal.
Thank you. Thanks, Aditi, for your inputs. Yeah. So, yes, this is how efficient Lambda is, right? It reduces uh, the effort and the lines of code you want to write. It's very dynamic in that sense. Okay. So, yeah, thanks, Aditi, for that input. So we move on to if conditions. If there are no questions till now, are there any questions? Okay, let's see. Okay, so we can move on, right? So we we can use lambda with if conditions as well. So how is you can see this example here. So what is happening in this one is you have two variables as we had previously, and then you have the colon, which after which you have the definition of the function, and then there is an if condition. Okay, so what this function is doing is basically it is kind of reverse, so don't get confused by it. So the function will return x if x is less than y. Okay, uh, else it will return y. So let's just try to call this function, and so that way we can basically understand this. So what is we how we call this is by uh, by how we saw last time. We give two parameters to this. So remember, this first one will be given to the value to the variable x, and the second value will be passed to y. So if we so this function basically will tell you, just run definition. So this function is basically telling you which of these numbers is lesser, right? So if now going back to the definition, you have passed two values here. So if x is less than y, x is returned. So because it is smaller, it is returned. Else, y will be lesser than. If this is not true, y will be lesser than x, right? So else, y will be returned. So just a simple function which returns minimum of lesser of the two values. So you can try to play around with different values here. So if I pass 10 and 9, I should get 9. Okay. So this is a simple example of one more if condition in just one line. Again, there are no generally when you write it, you will have to write if condition and then brackets and then the colon, right? For these for uh, executing that if condition, and then you write below if x, else one more line else, and then y. So instead of that, you can just write it in a simpler comprehension here, like in one line, and you define this function. You head this function with this keyword lambda. Okay, so this is again a simple example of a comparison which happens in the function, and based on that, it's returning the minimum value. So we move on to map functions. Okay, so map
One
is again
second,
that
Kaushal.
similar.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Students, any question before we move on to the next one? Lambda, have you understood?
Yeah, please let us know if you have any doubts.
If we give a small exercise, will you be able to do it? Yes, no. Can we get a quick confirmation in the chat? Okay. Only one yes we have got. We hope you are with us so far. You have understood lambda function. Okay, good. Now I'm getting more yeses. Thank you very much. So with that confidence, we'll just move on to map. Yeah, back to you, Kaushal. We'll continue with the map. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, sir. So uh, what we will do here is try to understand how this map function works. Okay, so we'll start with defining this list, a simple list with uh, numbers 1 to 5. Okay, then uh, when we create this list, after that we define a function. This is normal definition, right? So we use the def syntax to create the function. We use def and then function name, and then in the parenthesis how many parameters it will be accepting, and then after the colon we write the function definition, right? So as you can see, this function is basically returning cube of any number which is given to it, right? So this is a simple function definition. We have used the def syntax to define this user defined function. So you can you're given it a name cube. Okay, so we if we run this, now this has run and it has created this function. So there is no th- nothing will appear out of this, no, because there's no print statement or anything. It has just created this function in the backend. Okay, so how map function basically helps you is with it helps you uh, define functions on lists, right? On a collection of objects. So you can use the same function uh, on the list, and it will execute it for you on each and every element of the list. Okay, so if the similar like this, we have a situation in our on our hand, like if we want, suppose as you might have already visualized, we want cubes of all the numbers in a list. Okay, so manually doing that, you can also do that using maybe a for loop or something, but that will be more lines of code. It will take a lot of effort, and it will take the execution time, as Aditi mentioned, will be huge, right? Because if this list is a huge list, if it has suppose hundreds of elements, it will take a lot of time, right? So instead of using the loops there, if the operation is simple enough, you can simply define a function using the def user defined syntax, and you can map it to the list. So how it is done is using this line of code. You can see how basically this is going about is using this map keyword. This map is again an inbuilt function. So inside the map function, what parameters you will give is basically the first parameter will be the function you want to apply to the list. Okay, so here cube is the function name. So you give the function name as the first parameter to the map function. All right. So and the second parameter will be the list to which you want to apply this function to. Okay, so this is how map will basically apply this function to each and every element of this list. Okay, so after the map, you you want this map output will not be in a list format. Okay, so if you want to convert the cubes you got from this operation, you cubes of these numbers, you want to convert them into a list format again, you have to use the list function. Okay, so you might remember we discussed data type casting, and this is again an example of explicit data type casting where you are converting this output into a list format. And this list format is again stored in this list cube list. Okay, so let's try to do this. You can see the output already. Just quickly define the cube function. Okay, so now cube list. Now see, we have the cubes of each and every number which we had in the num list, this list, right? So we got the cubes of each and every element of the list with just one line of code. Okay, and that too in the this list format. So if I remove, for example, this list to just see what will happen, we run it again, right? So you don't you will the output of this function of this map function will get stored. It just showing you the memory location. Okay, this map and the output has been stored in this memory location. So if that is not what we wanted, right? We wanted to display the we wanted to basically convert into a list, this output into list format, and store it in this variable which we want as a list. Okay, so this is now you might have uh, got to know the significance of this, why we are using this list function here. Okay, you can try it by yourself. Try different numbers. You can try negative numbers as well. So, and any doubts you have, you can ask them now so that we can proceed. Any questions regarding the simple map function? Uh, did you guys get the positions of the map parameters you want to use? Is are you following everything? Can I get a quick yes? Okay, okay, we thank you. So moving on, we will use the same map function to a little complex scenario. So again, we have a list of salaries, as you might see here. This is a sal list which has salaries of employees of any categories. So you have this list of salaries, and next we are defining, as you might have seen this, we defined this function yesterday as well. So what we do is basically use this function again to map it using the to basically use this function on a list, we use the map function again. Okay, so uh, as you might understand from this definition for this increment function, uh, we uh, we are giving an increment of 10%. So as salary is getting multiplied by 1.1, it is incrementing by 10%, right? So the new salary sorry, is basically an increment of 10% on the older salaries, right? So there is no condition on when increment is to be given. So all the values will be incremented by 10%. So this calculation, this variable new sal, we are returning it again as the output of the function, right? So uh, again, you might have uh, heard it in the last session from Aditi, like this is the doc help where it is used to explain the function better. So we'll talk about it later. So fine, we we are using the map now. So similar format, list map, and then we use the function name, which is increment. Okay, and we after the comma we pass uh, this list sal list. Okay, so uh, remember map should be inside as map is applied to both these parameters, and then uh, whatever we you get after the map should be converted to a list because the desired output we want is in a list format. Okay, so let me just quickly run this. So you might see that every uh, salary is getting increased by 10%. 2000 is to 2200 now, 5000 is 5500, and it all happened just using one simple map function. You map a list with a simple function, and it basically applies uh, the that function for every element of the list. Okay, so we can move to filter if you have if you don't have any questions. Any questions? Are you guys following? Can I get a response in the chat?
Just remember, we may have a coding test or coding assignment after the session. Just be prepared. So if you have any questions, please let us know. There may be a small assignment either by the end of the day today or tomorrow, which we may ask you to prepare, write, and then send it across. Okay. We hope that you all are able to understand this and apply it in the real world.
Right. So we move on. So we move on to filters now. So filters are let me tell you how they are different from maps. So you saw in the map functions you were able to change the values in the list. So you were able to perform operations on the list like an increment of 10% or a cube or a cube root. You can do certain operations on the list and you can change those values, right? Uh, how it is different from filter is filter will only give you the whatever existing lists um, members are there in the list already. You can only filter from those values based on a condition. Okay, so you will not be able to change these values or perform operations which change these values in a list. So a simple example we can see is a filtering of even numbers from the list, right? So how we do that is again a similar definition. we define an if even function, and we give the parameter x. So that can be any name you can give it there. So what, again, a simple condition it is checking is if x modulus or x percentile 2, it means x divided by 2 and its remainder out of division from 2 is if it is equal to 0, so return x. So it just returns the even numbers. So only even numbers will have remainder 0 after dividing from 2, or else it does not return anything, right? So what it will do is, as you might have seen, it will only filter even values from the given list. Okay, so you might see the output from running the filter. So again, the syntax is similar. We give the filter function and we give the function name as the first parameter. So if even is the function here, and you give the list after that as the second parameter, and bind it out with the list function. Okay, so which helps to convert it into a list format. So you might see that it has filtered out the even numbers in the list. Okay, so if you just want the odd numbers, you can give. So just a quick question: uh, what symbol I should insert here now for odd numbers? Can anybody tell me that? Again, going back to our basics operators uh, session, because it should be opposite of even. So for not equal to 0, what should be the symbol here? Can anybody tell in the chat? Suppose I want the list of odd numbers filtered from this list. So I would want not equal to. Yeah, correct. It will be in an exclamation mark. Nandu, Harishri, correct. Yeah, it will be an exclamation mark. Okay, so simply put this here. When if I change the function name as even odd and apply the same function here, it should be giving me the list of odd numbers. Sorry, my bad. Okay, so now it is giving me the list of odd numbers, right? So any doubts here on the filter? Because we have the last element after this. We have a little bit more complex form of filter. Any doubts still here? Are you guys getting the hang of the filter function? Can I get a yes from you? Okay, thank you guys. Okay, so the last form of uh, filter combined with lambda we have here uh, in these this kind of functions is filter with lambda. So uh, by just looking at it, you can see uh, we we are first defining the function here itself. So what was happening till now is inside the filter, you can see we first give the function name, comma, the list name, right? So now inside the filter, we are, instead of giving the function name, we are defining the function using lambda. Okay, so what the function is all about is again, if x percentile 2 is equal to 0, it's the same thing we use in the def. It's just in the lambda format. Okay, so if the remainder is a 0, we return x. Okay. And remember, this is very important. Whatever variable you are using, you have to define it after, you have to write it after lambda and then a colon. And then you can start defining the function. Okay. So if this condition is true, we return x. Okay. Or else we don't return anything. It's none. So it's nothing we return for the odd values. So instead of writing a function like this with the def syntax, we can simply write it in the lambda format, and uh, after that, after the comma, we can define the list which we want to apply this function to. Okay, so again, remember we have to do this inside the filter functions parameters. So these two are parameters for the filter function. Okay, and then we close it out with the list function. Okay, so uh, again, even more simpler format or form to use filter with lambda, where you don't need to really write 4 or 5 lines of code. If there is a simple if condition you want to use, just define the function here using lambda, and enclose that for the as parameters for the filter function. Okay, so with this we are coming to a close with regards to map, filters and lambda. So I have an assignment for you which you can do it later. So this is shared with you inside the notebook. You can refer to n number of resources for this, and uh, try to share the solutions with us. Even I'll try to share the solutions if you have any doubts on the WhatsApp group. Uh, so first you can try it yourself, and if you have any questions, you can reach out to us.